files. Yeah, no, not working. I'll let you keep going. Just ignore me.
Yeah. Let's keep going. Yeah. So with a decentralized database, there's no single point of trust or failure. So you get the web. Yeah, one website goes down, it doesn't mean all websites are going to go down.
That one in particular has failed. That's all.
It's the same with It's the same with BitTorrent. So you share torrent files, and well, everybody will download some data, and you don't even need to have complete files.
Yeah, the actual bits and bytes, ones and zeros, and all compressed data is spread out all over the place, and you just join the pieces up as you need them.
Yeah.
That's what.
And so you can have users or seeders, die and spawn again, and it doesn't matter because there's lots of these other people sharing. There's always more people to share with, and so
and/or
it's
interference.
really resilient
interference.
to
it can
any particular node failure.
So a regulator and/or nefarious type, also known as bureaucracy, can come along and interfere, and it just skirts around them, or it stops, backs up, and retries, and just either crashes or crashes through.
Yeah. So it's also, it's difficult to regulate. Unlike the centralized database where there's, a central authority in control.
It's anarchy out there.
It's really hard to stop hundreds or millions of people sharing files with each other.
It's funny. You do know. I hope you realise we're witnessing the end of government as we know it, don't you? It's freaky as, we could do lots of swearing, but it's freaky as hell.
Yeah.
It really is. It's great. It's great. So have you got your Red Cross? Have you got your Red Cross costume and your helmet of steel ready?
So
and your shield and sword and stuff. We're gonna go off.
No, I don't.
We've got to do some role-playing games to practice.
One day I'll go to Switzerland. Yeah. Okay. All right. So, okay. Transactions are expensive for some decentralized databases. Obviously not the web, but for blockchain, it definitely is.
Well, they don't cost a lot of money.
Transactions are very expensive. They take a long time to complete,
of the verification
and they cost a lot of money. But what? Yeah.
Well, depends on the perspective.
If you make a comparison between the two, there'd be like,
the banks. The banks
it would be a millicent.
The banks are charging the
for like a bank to make a transaction
number of
within their own
anywhere
service,
between
but it's
1
going
to
to take
2.5, depending on the volume of transactions you're putting through. And at a $100 transaction, 1% is $1, 2% is $2.50. The blockchain, as it's constructed at the moment, I can move a transaction for 50 cents. Now, that transaction for 50 cents can be a $5,000 transaction. So it's still 50 cents, which makes it more egalitarian for starters. And the bank doesn't take its 1% of $5,000 is $50 for the transaction. Like, you're kidding me, aren't you? But the actual cost of that transaction to the bank is pumpteenth of nothing.
Yeah.
Yes. So when you're talking about cost,
which is what I really mean. That's what I'm comparing it with. If you're designing a database, then the cost of making a transaction in a blockchain database is way higher, cost, several orders larger than what you'd find in like a MySQL database
unit. Yeah, the cost is higher. We're not talking necessarily money.
Yeah. But yeah, but the bank, what they actually will charge people on the bank
And do you know
statements
how
is,
they
is
can
going
do
to
that?
be a
It's
lot
because they're goddamn
much
centralised and
larger
they're
than
not
what
open
they,
source and they can
you
do
know,
whatever the
they
hell they
actually pay
like
in
in
the
their nice little
computational costs.
oligarch. Okay, keep going.
Yeah,
Yes.
because essentially because there's no, or the barrier of entry is too high.
Anybody
So
can operate it.
Blockchain decreases the barrier of entry so that all the costs, and all the costs that an end user pays in making a transaction on blockchain is the computing cost. There's no organizational cost, or it might be the
Yes.
fee, but that's
And
really
it
trivial because anyone can
increases.
operate
Yeah,
a
it
Bitcoin node.
increases by orders of magnitude the competition.
And because the
Therefore,
barrier of entry is
it
low,
just destroys, here we go, the difference between cost and prices.
yeah,
It destroys
Yeah.
the price of moving the data around. The cost is still high, but because the levels of competition are order of
Yeah.
magnitudes increased, price just comes right down. There are lots of questions around. Once all the Bitcoin coins are
Yeah.
mined, how are the existing miners going to make money? And well, Satoshi's vision was they were going to make money from transaction fees, but not terribly convinced at that just yet. But I think they probably will. They'll have to turn.
Yeah. I think so.
Oh yes,
I think
yes,
so
yes.
because
Yes,
and I think
because
that's
there's no
ideal
inflation,
because it
we're in a
means that
better
there's no
environment.
inflation.
Yeah.
Like there's technically, yeah. What's yeah, but there'll always be money
no,
through
that makes
fees.
sense.
It's just those fees are just going to go down and down. But an interesting fact is that they're probably never going to. That's people aren't going to be
Well,
disincentivized
to be honest,
to keep running Bitcoin nodes because partly because to mine Bitcoin efficiently, you need to have an ASIC processor,
well, it's
which
designed
is
specifically
a
for
computer
crunching
that's
algorithms.
designed specifically for processing Bitcoin payments, and because you can't use that,
Or well, actually, just crunching those functions.
because you can't use that for any other purpose except for Bitcoin. Then
it increases the competition. It lifts efficiency, and
then
costs and prices come down.
People aren't going to want to stop operating Bitcoin nodes because there's nothing else you can do with that hardware. Nick seems to think you can, but I don't think that's the case. I think
that would be a GPU.
ASIC
wouldn't
processors
it?
are designed specifically for Bitcoin.
DIC is
not
an application-specific interrogated circuit, so therefore they're building these integrated circuits for the application of Bitcoin. Fair enough.
Yeah. Yeah, which means that if the transaction fees got so low that it became not worth mining anymore, the Bitcoin nodes would not be repurposed because they can't be repurposed.
Well, at the same time, you've still got all the distributed nature
actually
of the blockchain.
Increases the
I'm running a
incentive
node
to continue
here.
mining.
I'm not doing any mining. I'm just verifying transactions. I'm part of the consensus network. I'm not part of necessarily generating any of the blocks.
Yeah.
So yes, and the Lightning Network's rocking up, which is a different kettle of fish. We'll get to that at some point, but
and as soon as the payment, if people drop out of the network, then it will increase the incentive to join the network. Because the price
it's always going to be in flux.
Offered to miners
it's
would
always
go up
going to be in flux
because there'd be less
so
competition.
It'll always be moving around, and there'll always be timing issues for profit. Yeah. Okay. Well, that works.
Yeah.
When not to use is most of the time.